Hello everyone, this is the first chapter. Today we are going to learn the basic concept you need to understand in finance. First concept is present value. To calculate the value of financial asset, we should know the concept of the present value because the value of financial asset is present value of future cash flows. We will learn this more in detail at the bond valuation, stock valuation chapter. Then we will learn how to convert from present value to future value. We call this compounding. Opposite way, converting future value to present value, we call this discounting. Finally, we will learn how to calculate present value and future value if you have various types of cash flows. Annuity is very important concept because many financial assets provide a series of cash inflows over time. When the payments are equal and are made at fixed intervals, the series is an annuity. We are going to deal with this today. Let's start. Suppose you have $1 today and $1 2 years after, for example 2022. Which is more valuable, this one or this one? Yeah, this one. $1 today is worth more than $1 in 2022. How much worth more? It depends on interest rate. When you say $1 to the bank, you will get interest. Money has time value, so bank give you interest as a compensation for the time value of money. In the real world, we should consider risk and many things, but in this stage, we just consider interest rate only. There are two types of interest rate, the simple interest and compounding interest. In Korean, we call simple interest as 단리, and compounding interest is 복리. In finance, we usually assume compounding interest. What is different between simple interest versus compounding interest? Here is one example. What is future value of an initial $1,000 after 2 years if the interest rate is 12%? Let me draw a timeline. If you invest this amount of money to the bank, you can get the interest. As a simple interest, if you sum of this, you can get this amount of money after 2 years. But compounding interest, there's one more term, interest on interest, because in year 1 you get this amount of interest and you can save to the bank this interest, so you get this amount of money more. We call this interest on interest. In finance, we usually assume compounding interest rate. And we call this picture as timeline. What is timeline? Timeline shows timing of cash flow. The CF stands for cash flow. The thing mark, it occurs at the end of periods. So time 0 means today, the current time. And time 1 is end of first period. It means 1 year from today or 1 month from today. And it also means the beginning of the second period. What is I? The I means interest rate. This is one example. What is future value of initial $100 after 3 years if the interest rate is 10%? Let's draw a timeline. Like this. The 0, 1, 2, 3. 0 means what? current time, the present time. So this is initial money. You have this amount of money now. So finding future value of cash flow or series of cash flows is called compounding. Future value can be solved by hand. We also call this step-by-step method or formula method. Or if you have a financial calculator, you can use that. And if you have a computer, Excel function is good to calculate this. Let's solve together. This is the first method, the step-by-step and formula method. After 1 year, this amount of money can be compounded only one time, right? So you get this amount of money at the year 1. After 2 years, this initial money can be compounded 2 times. So you get this amount of money. How about after 3 years? Now we calculate the step by step. The first step, the second step, and third step. And third step, it compounds 1, 2, 3 times. So we get this amount of money, right? As you can see, after n years, you can get this general formula, right? So you can use this general formula when you calculate the future value. Second, the calculator method. This is a financial calculator. As I mentioned in syllabus during our course, the financial calculator is not necessary. But if you plan to buy a financial calculator, I recommend the Texas Instruments Bar 2 Plus. This is a very popular financial calculator. As you can see, there is 5 keystrokes which are related with time value of money. So if you enter in 4 keystrokes, then solving remaining variable. In our example, the number of periods is 3, right? So input this and push this button. The order of input variable is not important. And then I per year. What does it mean? The 10? 10%. So push this button and this and this. PV means present value and initial money, but it has minus sign. What does it mean? The minus sign means cash outflow, each kind of investment or saving. So when you save money into bank from your pocket, it's cash outflow, so it has negative sign. The plus sign means cash inflow. One thing you should know, the PV and FV, it should be opposite sign. Cash outflow, cash inflow. So when you input same sign, you will get the error message. It is same with in Excel. What is PMT? The PMT stands for payment. So at each period, same amount of money you get. We will take this in annuity part. Now you input 4 keystroke and then push this button, the CPT. CPT stands for compute, and then remaining variable. Now we are solving for FV. The remaining variable is FV. And then you get the number on this display. This number, 133.1. It is same with this number. The third method is using Excel. There is Excel function about the future value, the FV. So input the equal letter and FV and rate, number of period, payments, and present value. The bracket means absolute value. The rate is 10%, so input the 0.1 or 10%. Number of period is 3 years, right? And there is no payment, 0. And present value is minus 100. And enter, you get this number, 133.1. If you input the positive number and you get negative number of future value, minus 133.1. Yeah, as I mentioned before, this and this should be opposite side. In the exam, it is okay to write down either the full equation or keystroke for the financial calculator or Excel function without having get the final answer. Yeah, it is okay. Write down each equation or each keystroke or Excel function. Now we do a reverse. This is example. The what is present value of $100 due in 3 years if interest is 10%. The finding present value of cash flows, we call this discounting, the reverse of compounding. The present value shows the value of cash flows in terms of today's purchasing power. This I can be interpreted discount rate. So we can draw a timeline like this. 0, 1, 2, 3, $100. Now we are solving for present value, and 10% is discount rate. Let's solve together. The first, the formula method. In this slide, we already get the general formula to calculate the future value, right? So we use this. The FV is equal to PV 1 plus IN, and this term goes to left hand side, so rearrange that 1 plus I FV, right? So in this case, 0, 1, 2, 3, 100, and we want to know present value, right? So input the numbers. The future value is 100, and the discount rate was 10%, right? Yeah, 10%. So 0.1, and what is N? The period, discounting period. So how much time? 1, 2, 3. So discount 3 times, and you get this number. And second, the calculator method. The exactly right solving for future value is that we have different input information and are solving for different variable. A different variable here is PV, right? You input this 4 keystroke and then compute button and push the PV, and then you get this number in the display. As I mentioned before, the minus sign means cash outflow. And it can be also interpreted as this. If you will have a one $100 after 3 years, it has this amount of purchasing power. The third Excel method, you can use the PV function. So equal, type equal, and PV. The rate is 10%, so 0.1, and number of periods is 3 years, and there is no payment, and FV is 100, and you get the same number like this. This is another example, the solving for interest rate. What interest rate would cause $100 to grow to 125.97 in 3 years? As we learned before, the FV general function was like this. And rearrange this equation. Right? And multiply power of 1 over n. Right? And this equation goes to right hand side, and finally we get the general formula to calculate the interest rate. Right? And input the numbers. The FV is this number, and PV is here, and is 3 years, minus 1. Yeah, that is answer of this question. In the exam, it is okay to show this formula. Yeah, you don't have to answer the final score. Yeah, it is enough to show. And the second, the financial calculator method. And now we have the 4 keystroke, and then compute button and push this, you get this number. What is A mean? Yeah, 8%. And one thing you should know, as I mentioned before, this number and this number should be opposite sign. Right? Yeah. And Excel methods, you input number of period, payments, present value, and FV, future value. Number of period is 3 years, 3. There is no payment, so 0. And PV minus 100, FV is this number. And also, in Excel, these two, FV and PV, should be opposite sign. Yeah. When you input the same sign, you get the error message. And you input this function, you get the number, yeah, 8%. It's the same with this, right? Time value of money concept can also be applied to fields other than finance. For example, if sales grows at 20% per year, how long before sales double? We have general formula of the I, interest rate. I is equal to FV over PV 1 over n minus 1, right? And this term move to left hand side. And take a log. Right? And this term goes to left hand side, So 1 over n right? And finally you get the general formula. Right? And input the numbers. What is I here? Yeah, 20%. So 1 plus 0.2. And what is FV and PV? Yeah, sales double. It means PV 1 goes to FV is 2, right? So ln 2, 1. The numbers, right? Yeah, as I mentioned before, you don't have to show the binary number. It is enough to show this equation. You can also use financial calculator. From this example, you know the 4 keystroke. The I per year, the interest rate is sales growth rate, right? 20%. So input 20. Usually, I per year is interest rate, right? Interest rate means how much money grow. But this example is a kind of application. Yeah, so we input the sales growth rate here. And PV and FV, yeah, it means goes double, right? 1 to 2, right? And it has opposite sign. Yeah, when you input same sign, there is error message. So just input the -1. And this is a positive number, right? And finally, you get these numbers and equal to 3.8, right? What does it mean? Yeah, we can interpret this. If sales grow at 20% per year, it needs 3.8 years before sales grow double, right? And you can also use Excel function. The function name is MPER, and the rate is 20%, so input 0.2, and there is no payment, input 0, and the sales double, so input PV -1 and FV input 2. And then finally you get these numbers.